I started noticing little things. Chloe became more withdrawn, often going into another room to talk on the phone, and her explanations grew increasingly vague. My name is Ethan, and I work as a financial analyst at a large company in Chicago. My life seemed perfect. A loving wife, a cozy house in the suburbs, and a stable job. But one evening, coming home earlier than usual, I found a message on my wife Chloe's phone. It was from an unknown number. "I can't wait to see you tomorrow night." My heart started pounding, and I felt like my world was falling apart. I didn't make a scene right away. Instead, I decided to follow Chloe. For several days, I lived in a state of paranoia, trying to figure out what was going on. On the appointed evening, I followed her. She went to a small restaurant downtown. I watched as she hugged a man I'd never seen before. His name was Caleb, and he was her co-worker. At that moment, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I went home without saying a word to Chloe. I couldn't sleep all night, running through every possible scenario in my head. I felt betrayed and humiliated. In the morning, I decided to talk to her. I woke up early, though I'd barely slept. Chloe was already getting ready for work, smiling at me in the bathroom mirror as usual. "You're up early today," she said, fixing her hair. "Yeah, couldn't sleep," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. I watched her put on her makeup and thought about how easily she managed to pretend. Inside, I was boiling, but I decided not to show a hint of suspicion. In the following weeks, I became even more attentive. Chloe continued her late nights at work, and I continued my game. I installed a tracking app on her phone, discreetly checked her messages, sometimes even looked through receipts in her purse. Every time she lied to me, I wrote it down in a notebook. One evening, when she came home later than usual, I met her at the door. "How was your day?" I asked, looking her in the eyes. "Oh, we had a rush. Had to stay late with the reports," she answered quickly, avoiding my gaze. I nodded, smiled, though inside, everything was tightening. "You look tired. Maybe I'll make you some tea." "That would be great," she said, and for a moment, I thought I heard guilt in her voice. I watched her like a stranger. She started going into the bathroom with her phone more often, sometimes stepping outside to call her mom. I knew it was a lie, but I kept playing the role of the caring husband. One evening, I decided to follow her again. She said she was meeting a friend. I left a little later and saw her get into Caleb's car. They drove toward the suburbs. I followed them at a distance, careful not to be noticed. They stopped at a small motel. I stayed in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about how to get back at her. Divorce seemed too simple. I wanted her to feel the same pain I did. The next day, I started acting. I became colder, but not so much that she would suspect anything. I started spending more time at work, staying late, sometimes turning off my phone. Chloe started to get nervous. "You've been different lately," she said one night at dinner. "Just a lot of work," I replied, not looking up from my plate. I started flirting with a colleague, Jessica. She was smart, witty, and clearly interested in me. I didn't plan to start an affair, but it was important to me that Chloe felt uneasy. Several times, I deliberately left my phone out so Chloe could see messages from Jessica. "Thanks for the evening. It was great talking." One night, Chloe couldn't take it anymore. "Who's Jessica?" she asked when I came out of the shower. "A colleague," I shrugged. "We're working on a project." She looked at me for a long time, as if trying to figure something out. "Are you cheating on me?" I smirked. "And you?" She lowered her eyes, and I saw a tear roll down her cheek, but she said nothing. Inside, a storm was raging. I wanted to scream, to accuse her, but I held back. I wanted her to confess, for her lies to become unbearable. I kept playing my game. I arranged for her to see me with Jessica at a cafe one day. We laughed, sat too close. I knew Chloe was watching us through the window. That evening, she didn't say a word, but I noticed her hands were shaking. A few more weeks passed. I gathered all the evidence of her affair: photos, messages, receipts. I was ready to present them, but I didn't. I wanted her to break under the weight of her guilt. One night, when she thought I was asleep, I heard her crying in the bathroom. I lay in the dark, listening to her sobs, and felt that my revenge had worked. She was suffering, just as I had, but there was no relief. I realized that revenge brings no peace. I had become a stranger to myself, lost trust in her and in myself.